Morning light through the window pane, coffee steaming, no rush, no lane. World's been shouting all night long. I pour a cup, let the silence talk. I didn't leave angry, didn't storm the door. I just stepped sideways away from the roar. Pull up a chair, let the clock unwind. This isn't breaking news, it's breaking the grind. They sell fear by the hour, package rage by the pound. Every screen's got an opinion, every voice trying to sound like they know what's coming, like they've cracked the code. But the loudest ones panic when you step off the road. I've seen cycles repeat, watch them rise, watch them fall. Empires shouting forever right before they stall. So I sip and I watch, let the headlines fight. Truth don't need a megaphone, it waits out the night. They want speed, they want fire, they want sides, they want lines, they want heroes and villains every damn time. But life ain't a headline, ain't red versus blue. It's quiet decisions people never review. Yeah, yeah, they want me. Loud? Nah, freedom's calm. It's knowing when to walk while the others all run. I'm not late to the party, I just left it early. Seen how it ends, same mess, same worry. Take a breath, let the cup cool down. The world will keep spinning without your sound. We'll be right here when the dust don't fly. Coffee on the table, morning in the sky. This is coffee time, Liz. No need to run. We'll talk again when the day's begun. Sunlight spills through the cafe door. Sunlight spills through the cafe door. Exotic beans in a steady grind. Water hot, no rush, no show. Milk turns silk in careful time. Dark cup from lake clean and slow. Mountain groom, strong and true. A Colombian cappuccino made right here above the blue. Welcome back to the channel, grancolombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live here in Armenia, Quindío, Colombia. Few glitches this morning. It's not the software, it was from the source. My bad. I go week after week after week using the same things and didn't think to check it. Anyway, Olga, good morning. How you doing? Mr. Papala, good morning from Montreal, capital of bad weather. We're having pretty awesome weather.
Mr. B. Nick, buen dia. How you doing? They keep telling us that we're in El Nino, but obviously we aren't yet because we're still getting rain every day. And while it is the warmer part of the year, it's not El Nino warm. I mean, today a high of maybe 80, maybe 81. Most of the time it's going to be in the 70s. So, yeah, that's not really a thing yet. I'm sure it's coming. I think the news headlines get all excited and need things to talk about. Renee, how you doing? Hi there from Brussels. How are you? Just to resign myself to the throat. Okay, so we're what, 4 or 5 weeks on, and I still can't grow a beard. I don't know what happened. Oh, I should pull up I can't today. But if I remember, next week I'll pull up a picture back when I used to have a beard and I could grow it in days. I don't know. I don't know what's happened. I mean, it just looks like I haven't washed my face. And it's like baby soft. What the hell? I don't know. I don't know. So, spot of good news this morning. Right here. Congrats. You're in. Rumble has reinstated me. So that's awesome. I really need and miss that money. So it's good that'll be back. Starts tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to see if I can get all my metrics in a week or two before the end of the month. Okay, let's see. What do we got today? I got some headlines. I'm going to try something a little bit different here. I kind of stopped doing the weather and the peso thing because I don't know, it's pretty much the same every week. Peso 36.70. It's still bouncing back and forth in that range. Oh, today is the election. It's a national election today. It won't be final. Today we'll establish who is in the runoff in 3 weeks. And so there'll be a final vote in 3 weeks. Now, if anybody got over 50%, that would be it. That would be the election. It's over. It's done with. But that's not going to happen. So, headlines. I'm going to try something here. I don't know how this is going to work. Bear with me. Boom. There we go. It's a little bigger. Shrunk me, but this is kind of cool. I can move myself anywhere. Anyway, Alias. This story kind of freaked me out. Alias, the godmother, is jailed. She recruited girls between the ages of 10 and 14 for sex trafficking networks in Armenia. Now, I read the story, and the story makes it sound bigger than what it is, but it's a pretty horrific story. This woman would go around to the poorest parts of town and find scumbag, drug-addled parents who were willing to sell off their daughters for money, for gifts, for whatever the lowest they could get out of them, and basically sell off their daughter. And she had 3 of them. So it's not like there was this big network. The headlines sounds like that, but it's bad enough. And she had 3, I think it was 10, 13, and 14. And she would then find old guys to basically Well, it was really gross. She was under investigation for 6 months before they arrested her. Now, the first thing I thought of is, I get you got to do an investigation. But for 6 months, they knew about this and this activity went on. I don't know. It just kind of creeped me out. Just not good. And where she was arrested, where she's located, if you can see on this little map here, this little blue marker is where they arrested her. Okay, yeah. Next headline. Quindío illuminated, transforms Bolivar Square, tourism, culture, and economic projection. Now, around Christmas time, I did a video and I walked down to Bolivar Park and I showed the building all lit up and everything around there was all lit up. And the entire building, the Quindío government building, the entire building, it was like a vertical movie screen and had all this digital light projections, words, and all kinds of stuff. And apparently it's been a big hit with tourists. I don't know why, because it's not like it's unique to Quindío, but they wrote an article on it and they said that it's actually helped boost tourism because they do questionnaires and things. And that really surprised me. But then again, tourism isn't just people outside of the country, it's people within Colombia. Owen, FYI, I will not be performing at the Freedom 250 concert this summer, as previously announced. Okay. And Gwen, good morning from Vancouver. How you doing? My glasses, I've got these lenses that, I forget what they call them, but you go out in the sun and they get darker. And there's something defective with them because they get these little blotches. And for the most part, I don't notice them, but one has appeared and it's like right in the wrong place. And if I move my head just a little bit, it makes things blurry. So, all right, who cares? And another headline. There wasn't much for headlines today. The operations resulted in closures, the recovery of public space, and the destruction of cheese, butter, and milk. Now, I'm going to ask your opinion on this one. This is a continuation of they're trying to clear up the sidewalks because stores will put stuff out in the sidewalk and there'll be stands, which I love. One of my favorite stands in Armenia is a watermelon stand down in El Centro because it's always the most perfect watermelon. I don't know how they do it. But they're trying to get rid of all this stuff. They want the sidewalks to be mostly clear. And so they've been going through and busting businesses for doing that. And basically, it's an invitation, if you're out there on the sidewalk, to discourage people from doing it. They're using that as a reason to inspect that business. Well, they found a business that it says cheese, butter, and milk. They had 2,000 gallons of milk. I forget how much of cream, almost 800 kilos. Yeah, 2,000 kilos. 800 kilos of butter. That's a lot. That's what, 1,800 pounds? I mean, that's like a Volkswagen Beetle in butter. And they seized it all because it wasn't, they didn't have their NVEMA. Now, their NVEMA is like the FDA certificate, except here, the NVEMA actually does inspections. but they didn't have their INVIMA certificate. So they said, therefore, they will assume that it's hazardous. And so they grabbed it all. Now, here's the thing that it's like, it's good, it's bad. I don't even know where to settle on this. My first instinct is this kind of sucks because Colombia has always been people finding ways to make money. And the government has always pretty much kept out of it, unless it was something like liquor. They're not big on that because there's a lot of dangers involved. But here's a business that's been operating for a long time. I don't know exactly how long, but they're not new. And they've been providing cheap cheese and butter to people in Armenia, cheaper than the supermarkets and even the tiendas. They would make it and sell to the tiendas. So they were doing a good business. Obviously, from the quantities, it's gotten pretty big. And the people who want those products save a ton of money. And that's always been the way of Colombia. And here in Armenia, they just keep cracking down on those traditional things. Now, I agree that sometimes a pain in the butt, sometimes they get carried away filling up the sidewalks. I mean, once in a while, well, anytime you walk down to El Centro, if you do much walking, you can't go more than 2 or 3 blocks without having to step down into the street to kind of work around something. But I never thought of it as a problem. I mean, it's Armenia. That's how it is. It never bothered me. And it's not like traffic goes fast or anything like that. So, I mean, it's not a date. Nobody ever gets hit by a car down in El Centro. So I understand how you want to make sure that there's no bacteria problems or whatever. You don't want people getting sick. But on the other hand, they've been operating for quite a while without any problem. I don't know. Maybe look, we'll give you 2 weeks to get your INVIMA certificate. I don't know, but they shut them down. They confiscated all of the product, the entire product. I could just imagine how much that hurt that business. I'm not a fan, but they're trying to be as regulated as the North America and Europe. And that was one of the beauties of living in South America is you didn't have the weight of the government looking at every little thing going on. But hey, I don't know. Am I right or am I wrong? What do you think? And no, I'm not getting count for chats today. It doesn't start till tomorrow because I sincerely want to know what you think because I'm trying to gauge my opinion. Where does it stand in the mix of things? I mean, am I really off base here? I don't know. It bothers me. Okay, next. Oh, yeah, here it is. 776 kilos of cheese. I had that wrong, the butter wrong. 18 kilos of butter, 40 liters of cream, and 2,720 liters of milk. Yeah, so I had all the numbers wrong, but same idea. Okay, more than 1,400 soldiers will be on duty to protect the election day in the coffee region. They've sent, these are actually being sent to the polls. So it's a massive presence on top of the 2,000. So, but they were spread all over at the borders and everything else. These are more closely related to election places. Okay, is that it? Oh, one more. Between coffee, nature, and tradition, Quindío, the heart of Colombia, prepares to welcome its visitors. This is an article about we're at the cusp of high season. There's two seasons right now and Christmas, New Year's. Christmas and New Year's has a lot more Colombians. And for foreign visitors, this time of year is number one. Christmas and New Year's has the most tourists. This is a close second. This one has a lot more outside visitors. And this will go through July, I believe. So it's just an article talking about that and pointing to all the festivals and things that are going to take place. Most of them are traditional, but there's been some popping up really designed for tourists. And that's it. That's all I got for that. Excuse me. Damn. It's very problematic. I mean, maybe you don't notice it as much as I do. All right. So now we're going to talk about our main topic. Yes, already. These are getting shorter, apparently. It's because you're not throwing chats up. You know, if you throw chats up, transition lenses. Yes. Honey for the throat. Okay, dear. Yeah, honey and lemon before honey, lemon, and tea before honey, lemon, tea, and rum before I do this. That's actually a pretty good idea. Cepeda gets elected in 3 weeks. No. Should prospective expats think of Plan B or Plan C instead of Colombia? If so, which countries? Perhaps you've thought about this. I don't think about leaving Colombia at all, which is really funny because I've traveled so much and I've lived in so many places. But maybe that's why I don't think of leaving Colombia. It would take something really drastic. Now, the only concern I get is with Petro. I had some concerns, but I quickly saw where the government just wasn't letting anything happen. But if we go Petro and then Cepeda back to back, Petro is able to gain a little bit of ground, and that's the starting off point for Cepeda because they're kind of similar, very similar. And so it's somewhat of a concern. It's a concern in the exchange rate. It's a concern in visas, which in my case doesn't really matter anymore. I'm pretty much set, but in general, that's a concern. There is a small anti-American attitude, mostly in Medellin, because of the stuff that goes on there. I don't see it here. However, Petro tried to stir that up, where the U.S. is going to invade, and he tried to stir that up. And if Cepeda wins, there may be continued emphasis on that. Well, nobody wants to live in a country where people start to not like you. Currently, they like us very much because most of us are well behaved and we're not here to do the things, that make the headlines, and, we make good neighbors. So it really is an issue, but you can't help but be a little bit concerned because all of that, if he wins, can just advance that. Now, it may not be in 4 years. It may fizzle. You never know. That's the thing. And if either of the other two candidates, the more conservative candidate, one is, I guess you would say, is a hard right, and one is a moderate right. If either one of those win, there'll be closer ties to the United States. There'll be a more friendly air. Visas will probably ease up. A lot of things it'll take the pressure off and we'll kind of go back to normal. But I wouldn't leave. Now, Mike left Colombia for various reasons, and he moved to Panama. And last I knew, he was quite happy there. And he discovered that there's things about Panama that you hear about Panama that aren't really true, or at least there's ways around it. Like he's living in a place that's not horribly expensive, and he's living up on the mountain. It's a nice little place. But I don't even consider it. I don't even know if I could afford to move. But that is, I honestly don't know if I could. I should sit down and figure it out. But I have no desire to move. I mean, I really love being here. Now, I love it better when I can be out walking around. So there's that. But he's not going to win. I don't see how it's possible that he wins because he's pulling 35%? And all the other candidates are really middle or right wing of any consequence. Well, there's really only 3 of any consequence, and they're all middle to right wing. They're certainly far from him. And there's only 2 that are, we'll see today. The last poll I looked at, the Abbigliero, the Italian heritage guy who's like probably going to be a lot more hardcore, probably more like Milei in Argentina, for example. And then there's the lady whose, family's been in politics in Colombia for, 500 years or something like that. And she's more moderate, but she's definitely right wing. It's like Milei with the edges filed off. Or Bukele. Hi, Olga. Do you speak Russian by chance? No. Yeah, well, you got that name, Olga, so we know you speak Russian. What's the preferred airline from Florida to Colombia now that Spirit is kaput? I don't know that they figured it out. The airlines that are flying into to here are Avianca, Latam, Copa, and there's one Jet Smart. I've never heard of them. But I don't know if they're picking up the same routes. I really haven't looked at it. But I know they're flying in. Those all have flights coming from the United States. So I don't know. Yeah, transition. Rigo, how you doing? Thank you. I got your present. I thought it was going to be that hard drive cable. So the guard called me. I wasn't feeling very good, and I said, "Well, I'll come down later." So I went down a little bit later, and he told me it was something for a computer. And so I was all excited. I thought it was going to be that hard drive cable. I'm out of hard drive space, and I've got I think it's a 4 gigabyte hard drive, but it's an old style. It's great for storage. A little slow to operate directly off of, but for storage, it's perfect, and that's what I need. And I've got one, but it's got an old style cable. Couldn't find it anywhere. I mean, I searched Amazon and I searched Mercado Libre. I went. This was a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I went down to El Centro and I stopped at all these different computer stores, trying to get a cable. Tried to see if anybody could make it, but they didn't even have the pin set up for the one end. It's about a 15-year-old style, the cable. So anyway, thank you. All right, so let's get to the main topic. First, I will show you, if you've ever seen that tree trunk there. If you spend any time in Founders Park or Parque Fundadores here in Armenia, you'll see people stopping at the north end to take selfies in front of that old hollow tree trunk I just showed you. Couples especially, they lean into each other, they hold up their phones, they get the shot. The trunk has become one of those spots that people seek out because they know it has something to do with love. Now, if you ask people here, and I have, most of them, you say, what's the story on this? And you're going to get a vague answer. Something about a couple, something tragic, something about, well, it's Colombian. I've never gotten anybody to actually tell me specifically what it is. Hold on. As much as you might not like it, it's for everyone's sake. I'm not following. Okay. The legend that gave this place its name is mostly faded, and it's what's left is the object and the feeling attached to it. This weathered old piece of ancient wood that actually looks like it was something created out of ceramic or whatever. It doesn't even look like a real tree trunk at this point. Somehow it still draws people who want to stand in front of it with someone that they care about. But the story behind it is worth knowing. So let's go back to where it starts. The tree itself came from La Tabaida. Now that's quite a ways south of here. That's down by the airport. It's just southwest of Armenia. Before the colonials cleared Quindío, trees like this one covered the valley. Caracoles, they're massive hardwoods that have been growing for centuries. The caracola is a wild relative of the cashew. And like the cashew, its nuts can be eaten roasted. But if they're raw, they're toxic. The indigenous communities of the region knew the tree well and used it for food, for timber, for canoes long before the colonials arrived. This particular tree was enormous by any standards. We know that because there's a photograph of it still standing on the hacienda taken in the early 20th century. In the photograph, two men are on horseback, posing inside the hollow of the trunk. Both of them, with their horses, fit comfortably inside the opening. That gives you a sense of what this tree was. I see there's chats going. I'll check them when I get done with the story. It had been standing long before Armenia existed, long before the colonials arrived from Antioquia looking for land. It was already old when the first families began clearing the forest and planting coffee on the hillsides of Quindío. Whatever happened inside it happened in the shadow of something ancient. The legend is set in the early 20th century on the hacienda in La Tabaida where the tree stood. There was a young man who worked the land as a farmhand, a peon. And there was a daughter of a man who owned the hacienda. And like all good stories, they fell in love. Now, in Colombia at that time, that was a serious problem. The distance between a farmhand and a daughter of a patron wasn't just a matter of preference or family opinion. It was a social boundary that both families enforced. You have to remember, colonial Spain has deep roots here. The families involved were hostile to each other about it. The two young people had no place to be together, at least openly. But they had the tree. The hollow of that old caracoli tree was large enough for two people. It was out on the hacienda land, away from the house and away from whoever was watching. So that became their place. They met there in secret inside the trunk of that old tree for as long as they could manage it. Now, the legend says they were found there one day, together inside the tree. But they were dead, still embraced. How they died is something the legend never says, or it's been lost. What it preserves is that image, the two of them together inside that hollow in the only space the world had allowed for them. At some point, the tree was struck by lightning. The tree itself didn't survive, but the hollow base did. That enormous section of tree trunk that has sheltered them. And rather than let it rot in the field, someone decided it was worth keeping. The trunk was cut, transported to Armenia, and installed at the north end of Founders Park, or Parque Fundadores. It was reinforced with concrete so it wouldn't deteriorate further, and it was given a name, Tronco del Amor. This city chose to bring the physical evidence of this legend into the center of its most important park, next to the monuments to the people who founded Armenia and cleared the land and built the department. In that park, there are these statues. The founders are remembered for what they built. The two young people from La Tabaida are remembered for what they couldn't have. Over time, the legend became something larger than a tragic love story. It became a symbol of reconciliation. The idea that whatever divided, whatever divided those two families was smaller than what those two young people found in each other. That the ending, as sad as it was, proved something the living couldn't manage. That the boundary between them didn't hold. Is the legend true? I mean, at this point, nobody can say. It wasn't like it was written down. Local historians will tell you it may be a story that grew up around the tree rather than a documented event. But that's how legends are. Legends tend to carry truth. They tend to carry a kind of truth that doesn't depend on whether every detail can be verified. What matters is that the people of Armenia decided this story was worth keeping, worth moving the tree, worth setting in concrete in the middle of the city. And now it's mostly a selfie spot. The story has faded and the object remains, still drawing people who feel something when they stand in front of it, even if they can't tell you what it is. And I don't know, maybe that's enough, or maybe it's worth knowing what you're actually standing in front of next time you're in Parque Fundadores. I thought it was a sweet story. And I was wondering, is it a coincidence? First of all, you think of Romeo and Juliet, right? I mean, it's pretty much the same story. And then you think of the tree, and it was a nut tree that if the nuts aren't roasted, the nuts were toxic. And it's easy to think that they killed themselves maybe by eating the nuts of that tree. Now, that's pure speculation. In my research, I didn't find that anywhere. It was just something that occurred to me. They killed themselves. How? There was nothing in the story evident. It was just basically two dead bodies. Well, how do you do that? Well, you could poison yourself. So it just kind of occurred to me. But anyway, I see a bunch of chats going on. So before we close for the day, let's see. Let me see if I can. Where? Somewhere. Here we go. Okay. As much as you might not like it, it's for everyone's sake. That was the thing I didn't understand. A couple of years ago, I developed E. coli and was horribly ill. Oh, you're commenting on the cheese thing. True. On the other hand, look at all the cases that break out in the United States with the certifications. And there's been, according to this story, there's no reported case that's ever come out of there. So that would be the thought. And that's why I'm torn on it and not completely sold on the idea, leave them alone. Well, there's something to be said, except the proof of it is hundreds of years of people doing that and getting along and not having any evidence of anything coming out of there, and the fact that this can happen whether you get certified or not. And so that kind of swung. Of course, I thought about that, thinking it was a simple case of Montezuma's revenge. I figured it would go away. I was taken to an emergency room where I was informed what I had and was days away from being too late. Just got back from 1 month expedition of Mexico, was totally surprised by the lack of trash in the streets. Even more at the basic difference culture of the people. Well, you're not new to Mexico. You know Mexico. I wouldn't consider, for a number of reasons, Mexico for me would never be. I've explained in the past why I will never go live in Mexico. There's too much that goes on. I'm not a fan. Plus, it's gotten quite expensive. So for me, that wouldn't be an option. Moving back to Ecuador wouldn't be an option. That place, it just went down the toilet. Venezuela in the future, maybe. Obviously now, no, because it's not much different. Although I have a friend who was living in Colombia, is now in Venezuela. And I asked a couple months ago if anything changed after that, the big kidnapping or whatever you want to call it. Said, no, everything's the same. Except now, her and her family have been earning a lot more money. And instead of just being in the house practically starving, they're out with new clothes and going on vacations to the beach, and their life has changed. I need to write because we do Instagrams now and then, but I don't communicate very well, and I haven't asked her since a few months ago, what's been going on. But there's been a noticeable change in the lifestyle of the entire family. So I don't know what's up there. What's that? I still have a cable. Hard drive is purple drive, meaning it's for security servers. Does not work. I'll have to think on that. So, any other countries? Asia's too far. Philippines is affordable, but there's reasons I never wanted to go back there. I spent some time there. Although there are a couple places you can get up in the highlands, and it's a lot more comfortable to live. But I don't know. I really didn't like living around that much poverty. It was really bad. Where else? Vietnam. Nah, I couldn't do it. Uruguay, too flat, too hot. Chile's too expensive for me. Bolivia, hell on earth, no thanks. Peru, no thanks. These are I've been to Peru. These are places I just there's no way I'd want to live in them. I mean, Ecuador has kind of become like Peru. What else? I don't know. Running out. Maybe El Salvador is good these days, but I don't know. It's a place I never would have considered. Okay. What's that, Owen? All right. Any thoughts on that story before I go? I'm going to wrap up today while I still have a voice. It's on fire. It was, well, I was telling you the story of Parque Fundadores and that tree trunk. I was felt like I was choking on my own tonsil. I have to watch back and see how noticeable it was. I thought I was gagging there a couple times. All right. Well, I guess that's it. So I will see you, honey. yeah. I'll see if I can get some honey. And I will be back next week. I'll probably be back Thursday with a SaneinColombia video. And I will ask you when I get back, all of you that don't put in chat, please start commenting in chat at least once a month. I need it to keep it going. I could barely. I need it to keep everything going for the channel. Let's put it that way. All right, we're going to end it here. I want to thank you. I will see you next Thursday or Sunday. Ciao.